I smiled at the exact moment the attorney cracked open that sealed envelope and read the hidden codicil. Just a plain, knowing smile that lit up my face like I'd won the lottery. And my brother Derek lost it, lunging across the polished conference table, his fist slamming into my jaw right there in front of everyone. The crack echoed like a gunshot in the stuffy room, and I tasted blood, but that grin? It stayed put. He thought that punch would erase it, wipe away whatever satisfaction he saw in my eyes. But my smile wasn't for him. It was for the legal trap that had snapped shut months ago, silent and deadly, without him even sniffing it out. If you've ever been the black sheep in your own family, the one always playing second fiddle, you'll get why one little smile can blow up an entire inheritance like a house of cards. And before we get back to the story, would you be kind enough to give this video a like? You know, every single like means a lot to me. It's the kind of encouragement that keeps me creating and bringing you even better stories tomorrow. My name's Quinn Hargrove, and at 32, I've learned the hard way that families aren't always about blood. They're about who holds the reins. Growing up in Oak Ridge, Illinois, it was always Derek in the spotlight. I remember one Christmas when I was 8, Dad handing him the biggest present under the tree, a shiny new bike, while I got socks and a puzzle. "He's the oldest, Quinny," Dad said, ruffling my hair like an afterthought. "Gotta set him up right." Even then, it stung, that unspoken rule, Derek first, everyone else scraps for leftovers. Mom would just smile weakly, saying, "That's how it is, honey." But those moments piled up, like interest on a bad loan, making me feel like I was always auditioning for a spot at my own dinner table. These days, I work as a teller at First Regional Bank downtown, a steady gig in a town where folks still chat about the weather while depositing their paychecks. It's not glamorous, counting stacks of 20s, spotting the occasional phony bill, helping old Mrs. Jenkins balance her checkbook with a patience I've honed over years. The air smells like fresh coffee from the break room, and that faint, metallic tang of coins. Shifts run 8 hours, sometimes with a lunch break wolfed down at my desk, while scrolling emails. It's honest work, keeps the lights on in my cramped apartment. No, wait, back home now after that messy breakup last year. But to Derek, it's always been cute, like I'm playing house while he conquers the world. "Still counting other people's money, sis?" He'd tease at family dinners, his voice dripping with that big brother condescension that made my blood boil, but my mouth stay shut. Derek married Lana 5 years ago, right after she inherited a chunk from her folks in the Chicago burbs. She brought that old money polish, think pearl earrings and Pilates perfect posture, and together they turned his side hustle flipping houses into Hargrove Properties LLC. Dad beamed like Derek had invented sliced bread, slapping him on the back at the wedding reception. "That's my boy, building something real." Mom nodded along, her eyes tired from subbing at the local school, but I saw the cracks even then. After Dad's mild stroke 2 years back, leaving him with shaky hands and foggy spells, Derek and Lana offered to move in. "Just to lend a hand," Derek said, all earnest eyes and firm handshake, like he was closing a deal. But it didn't take long for the takeover to kick in. They claimed the master bedroom upstairs, the one with the bay window overlooking the backyard where Dad used to grill burgers on Sundays. Lana redecorated with her shiplap walls and farmhouse signs that said "Live, Laugh, Love," shoving Mom's crochet Afghans into boxes like yesterday's trash. Derek turned the basement into his command center, desks cluttered with blueprints and laptops humming late into the night. And the rules? Oh, they dropped those like commandments from on high. "We're all in this together," Derek announced one evening over takeout pizza, standing in the kitchen like he owned the place, which, turns out, he was angling for. "But hey, who foots the bill calls the shots, right?" He shot me a wink, but it landed like a jab. Mom picked at her slice, her aide salary barely covering her blood pressure meds, shrinking into her chair as if she could disappear. I kept my head down, chipping in for groceries and utilities from my teller paycheck, but every time I used the living room TV or grabbed a soda from the fridge, Lana's eyes followed, tallying it up. It started subtle, those mind games Derek loved. Like when he'd forget to tell me about family plans, leaving me out of loop on Dad's doc appointments, then act surprised. "Oh, Quinn, thought you knew? Busy with your little job and all?" Or Lana's sighs when I'd linger in the kitchen too long. "Space is premium now, you know?" Psychological digs chipping away, making me question if I was the problem. But Dad, on his clearer days, would catch my eye across the table, his voice low. "Don't let 'em grind you down, kiddo. Family's what you fight for." I thought it was just pep talk. Didn't realize he was dropping breadcrumbs. That night after a long shift, feet aching from standing, I headed to the basement for the Wi-Fi password. Derek changed it weekly, like some power play. Rifling through his desk junk, my hand brushed a folder. Peeked inside, heart skipping. A quitclaim deed. Dad's scrawled signature at the bottom, transferring the house to Hargrove Properties. For $1. Dated months back. My breath caught. What the hell was this? Derek married Lana 5 years ago, right after her folks passed, and left her a tidy sum from their old Lakeview estate. She waltzed in like she was upgrading the whole family. Blonde highlights, designer yoga pants, and that perpetual scent of lavender essential oil. "We're building something here," she'd say, her voice all honeyed confidence, as if our modest colonial on Maple Street was her latest project. Dad, still sharp back then, clapped Derek on the back at the wedding. "Smart move, son. Teaming up with a winner." Mom forced a smile, but I caught her twisting her napkin under the table, like she sensed the storm brewing. "Me?" I raised a toast, biting back the envy as Derek gloated about their honeymoon in Aspen. Even then, I felt like the spare tire, useful in a pinch, but mostly ignored. They didn't waste time staking their claim. A month after the vows, Dad's stroke hit. Mild, the doc said, but enough to leave him with trembling hands and the occasional blank stare. "We'll move in to help," Derek announced over Sunday brunch, his fork midway to a stack of pancakes. "Mom's got her hands full with subbing, and Quinn, you're, well, busy at the bank." He shot me that half smile, the one that said, "Don't argue, sis." Lana nodded, already pulling out her phone to show swatches for freshening up the place. Before I knew it, moving trucks blocked the driveway, and their stuff flooded in like a tidal wave. The garage? Derek's for his tools in that flashy SUV. The guest room? Lana's office for handling the books. I watched from the porch, arms crossed, as movers hauled in her antique dresser, bumping Mom's flower pots. "Careful," I muttered, but no one heard or cared. The rules came down like gospel that first week. Derek stood in the living room, hands on hips, surveying his new domain. "Look, we're family, so let's keep it simple," he said, his voice booming like he was addressing a boardroom. "Who pays the bills makes the calls. Fair enough?" He glanced at Mom, who stared at her coffee mug, her aid paycheck barely scratching the surface after Dad's medical copays. She nodded faintly, shrinking a bit more, her shoulders hunching like she'd practiced invisibility. I felt that familiar knot in my gut, the one from childhood when Derek got the new sneakers and I got hand-me-downs. "What about contributions?" I asked, trying to keep my tone even. Derek chuckled. "Sure, Quinny, chip in what you can. But let's face it, Hargrove Properties is carrying the load here. Utilities, mortgage tweaks, all that." It was clear. His money, his rules. Lana chimed in. "It's about efficiency, really. We all pull our weight." But her eyes lingered on my chipped mug, implying I wasn't. Those rules tilted everything in their favor, subtle at first, but stacking up like unpaid interest. Derek handled the bills, deciding when to upgrade the cable package, for his sports channels, of course, while skimping on Mom's gardening supplies. "Priorities," he'd say with a shrug. Lana enforced the kitchen rota, claiming prime cooking times for her organic meals, leaving me scrambling for microwave dinners after late shifts. "Space is limited," she'd remind me, her voice sweet as pie but sharp underneath. One evening, I came home to find my laundry basket dumped in the hall. "Oh, Quinn, I needed the washer for Derek's suits," Lana said, not even looking up from her tablet. "You understand, right? Business comes first." I bit my tongue, steam rising, but nodded. Inside, I seethed, feeling like a tenant in my own childhood home, always one wrong move from eviction. Lana made a sport of those reminders, her words like velvet-covered barbs. "This is Derek's vision now," she'd say casually while folding towels, her eyes flicking to me. "He's the one turning this place around." Or at dinner, passing the salad. "Quinn, honey, maybe think about your own spot soon. At 32, it's time to spread those wings." Her smile never reached her eyes, and I'd force one back, my fork scraping the plate louder than necessary. It chipped away at me, that constant nudge. You're the extra, the afterthought. I started eating in my room more, staring at the faded posters from high school, wondering how I'd become the ghost in my own story. Our neighbor, Mrs. Ellis from across the street, the one with the yappy terrier, an endless supply of zucchini bread, noticed the shift first. She caught me watering the lawn one afternoon, her brows knitting as Lana's laughter floated from inside. "Everything okay over there, Quinn? Seems busier since your brother moved in." I hesitated, then shrugged. "Just family stuff." But her knowing look lingered, like she saw the tension lines I tried to hide. "Well, if you need an ear or a casserole, I'm here." It was small, but it planted a seed. Maybe I wasn't crazy for feeling pushed out. The small conflicts escalated bit by bit, like a slow boil. First, they commandeered the best spots. The sunny den for Lana's yoga mats, shoving Dad's old recliner to the basement. "Better flow," she explained, ignoring Mom's wistful glance. Then, the thermostat wars. Derek cranked it down to save on bills he paid, leaving me shivering under extra blankets. "Toughen up, sis," he'd joke, but his eyes dared me to complain. One night, I found my books stacked haphazardly in the hall. Derek needed shelf space for his real estate trophies. "Come on, Quinn, those old novels. Make room for progress." I swallowed the retort, stacking them back, but the anger simmered, fueling that invisible feeling, like I was fading into the wallpaper. Dad was the quiet anchor in the chaos. On his good days, he'd shuffle to the kitchen, pour coffee with those shaky hands, and sit with me at the breakfast nook. "Don't let 'em box you in, Quinny," he'd murmur, his voice gravelly but firm. "Family's a team, not a kingdom." I'd nod, gripping my mug, drawing strength from his words. But as his fog thickened, those moments grew rare, leaving me to navigate the minefield alone. Little did I know, his advice was more than talk. It was a lifeline, waiting for me to grab it. Dad's stroke hit like a sneak attack last fall, right after the leaves turned, but before the first snow. He was in the garage tinkering with his old lawnmower, one of those stubborn projects he refused to let go, when he crumpled like a sack of potatoes. Mom found him, her screams pulling us all running. The ER docs called it mild, a warning shot, but it left its mark. His left hand trembled like a leaf in the wind, and words sometimes slipped away mid-sentence. "Pass the thing," he'd say, frustration creasing his forehead as he groped for salt. Memory glitches followed, forgetting where he parked at the grocery store or calling the dog by my childhood pet's name. We'd laugh it off at first, but it gnawed at me, watching the man who'd taught me to ride a bike fade bit by bit. Derek's interest perked up overnight, like he'd smelled blood in the water. He'd never been the doting son type, too busy closing deals, but suddenly he was all in. "Let me handle the bills, Pop," he'd say, sliding into the kitchen chair next to Dad with a stack of envelopes. "You focus on getting better." At first, it seemed harmless, even helpful. Mom sighed in relief, her shoulders relaxing for the first time in weeks as Derek sorted the mail. "He's got a head for numbers," she'd whisper to me, like justifying it. But Lana's hints started dropping like breadcrumbs. "Derek's just making sure everything's secure for the future," she'd say over coffee, her eyes flicking to Dad's pill bottle. "You know, with his episodes." It rang false, that concern, like she was reading from a script. I bought the red herring at first, thinking Derek's visits were just brotherly duty. He'd swing by after work, briefcase in hand, chatting about the Bears game to ease Dad into signing routine updates for insurance or bank stuff. "Nothing big, just dotting I's," he'd assure us, flashing that realtor grin. One afternoon, during a family barbecue subplot that felt forced even then, Lana insisted on hosting to boost morale. Derek's greed peeked through. We were flipping burgers in the backyard, smoke curling up, when Dad fumbled a spatula. Derek jumped in, steadying him, but then steered the talk to the house value. "This place could fetch a pretty penny now, Pop. Ever think about equity loans?" Dad mumbled something non-committal, but Lana piped up. "It's smart planning, Harlan, for all of us." I caught Derek's quick glance her way, calculating, not caring, and my stomach twisted. Was this help or a grab? The suspicion built through those small stings, like paper cuts adding up. One evening, Dad shuffled into the living room during Jeopardy, his favorite ritual. He patted my shoulder, clear-eyed for once. "Evening, Lana," he said, mistaking me for her. My heart sank. The name hung in the air like a bad omen. Derek had visited that morning, checking paperwork. Dad had been sharp the night before, reciting trivia answers like a champ. Now this? I forced a laugh. "It's Quinn, Dad." He blinked, confusion clouding over. "Of course, kiddo. Slipped my mind." But it stuck with me, that slip, timed too perfectly after Derek's help. Derek's gaslighting kicked in when I started probing. "You're overthinking, sis," he'd say with that patronizing chuckle whenever I asked about the forms. "Dad's getting on. Mix-ups happen. Why stir the pot?" One night, after I overheard him on the phone about asset transfers, he cornered me in the hall. "Quinn, you're acting paranoid. This is for Mom's sake, not some conspiracy." His eyes narrowed, voice low. "Don't make waves, or it'll look like you're the one causing stress." It messed with my head, making me doubt. Was I seeing shadows where there were none? But the incidents piled. Dad forgetting his wallet after Derek's visit, or blankly signing a blank check Lana needed for groceries. At the barbecue, when Derek pocketed the grill tools Dad loved, claiming they're mine now for safekeeping, it clicked subtler. Greed masked as care. By winter, the closed-door meetings ramped up. Derek holed up in the basement with his laptop and phone, door locked, voices murmuring about estate planning. Lana dropped hints like bombshells. "Big changes coming, Quinn. Might want to scout apartments. Spread your wings." Her smirk said it all. "You're out." Suspicion turned to a slow burn in my chest, the house feeling like a pressure cooker ready to blow. Dad's advice echoed, fight for family. But how, when the enemy was inside? Dad's advice rattled around in my head like loose change in a pocket, fight for family. But staring at those locked basement doors night after night, I wondered if the fight was already lost. Derek's meetings stretched longer, his voice a muffled rumble through the floorboards, plotting God knows what. I started avoiding the house more, picking up extra shifts at the bank just to breathe. One Thursday, after a grueling day dealing with a line of cranky customers complaining about overdraft fees, I dragged myself home, feet throbbing. The Wi-Fi was acting up again. Derek's favorite trick, changing the password without warning. "Security reasons," he'd claim, but it felt like another jab, keeping me on the outs. I headed to the basement, knocking lightly before pushing the door open. Empty. His desk was a mess of coffee-stained papers and takeout wrappers, the glow from his sleeping laptop casting shadows. I wasn't snooping, not really. Just hunting for the sticky note with the new password he sometimes left out. My fingers sifted through the clutter. Junk mail, a half-eaten protein bar, and then a manila folder labeled Property Docs. Curiosity tugged, but I hesitated. "Fight for family," Dad's voice echoed. I flipped it open, and there it was. A quitclaim deed, bold as brass. Dad's signature at the bottom, dated 3 months back, transferring the house to Hargrove Properties LLC for $1 and other valuable consideration. My breath hitched. This couldn't be right. I blinked hard, rubbing my eyes like I could wipe it away. Maybe it was a draft, a mistake. Dad wouldn't sign away the home he'd scraped together with factory overtime and Mom's scrimping. But the notary stamp glared back, Lana's cousin's name scrawled there. No, this was real. My stomach churned, a wave of nausea hitting like bad takeout. How could Derek do this? Flashbacks crashed in. Him as a kid, hogging the remote, always getting first dibs on everything while I waited my turn. "Share, Derek," Dad would say mildly, but it never stuck. Now this, stealing the roof over our heads? Betrayal burned hot, mixing with that old resentment. Hands shaking, I pulled out my phone, snapping pics of every page, the flash bouncing off the glossy paper. Zoom in on Dad's sig, shaky, like his post-stroke scrawl. I stuffed the folder back, heart pounding like I'd run a marathon, and slipped upstairs before anyone got home. Sleep was a joke that night, my mind racing through what-ifs. By morning, I was a zombie at work, miscounting a deposit twice before my coworker Rita noticed. She's been at the bank longer than me, a no-nonsense type with salt and pepper hair and a knack for spotting fraud from a mile away. "You look like hell, Quinn," she said during our coffee break in the back room, the hum of the vending machine filling the silence. "Spill." I hesitated, then blurted a hypothetical. What if someone close forged a deed? Rita's eyes narrowed. "Hypothetically? Get proof, bank trails, SIG comparisons, and lawyer up quick. Seen it before. Family stuff gets ugly." Her advice clicked like a key in a lock. "Thanks, Rita. Owe you one." She waved it off. "Just watch your back. Blood don't always mean loyalty." Emboldened, I logged into Dad's accounts on my lunch break. He'd added me as a viewer years ago, just in case, back when his health was rock solid. Scrolling through statements on my phone, hidden behind a partition, the leaks jumped out like red flags. $2,500 wired to Hargrove Properties for consulting. Another $4,000 labeled Materials Advance, scattered over months, totaling over $35,000, each transfer syncing with Derek's help visits. My pulse quickened. This wasn't coincidence. I cross-checked dates. Yep, within a day of him dropping by with his briefcase of updates. That's when sundowning entered the picture, a term I'd picked up from Dad's neurologist during one of his checkups. It's when folks like him get more confused as the day wears on, shadows lengthening in their minds along with the ones outside. Dad's episodes peaked in the evenings, mixing up dinner plans or wandering the hall like he was lost. But replaying it, I saw the pattern. Derek timed his visits for late afternoon, right as the sun dipped, when Dad's grip on reality loosened. "Sign here, Pop. Routine stuff." I'd overhear from the stairs, Derek's voice smooth as silk. Dad would mumble agreement, pen scratching paper. The name mix-up after that morning visit? An outlier, but now it screamed setup. Was Derek exploiting those foggy moments, slipping in docs when Dad couldn't fight back? Rita's words echoed as I screenshot the transactions, my fingers flying. Doubt crept in again. Maybe I was jumping to conclusions, seeing villains where there were just caring siblings. But the numbers didn't lie, cold and damning on my screen. Emotional weight hit hard. This house held Dad's sweat, Mom's laughter from better days, my scraped knees from bike wrecks in the driveway. Derek turning it into his ATM? No way. I pocketed my phone, resolve hardening like concrete. The enemy was inside, all right, but so was I, ready to dig deeper. The small win with Sam sparked something fierce in me, like flipping a switch from doubt to drive. Her roadmap burned in my pocket all the way home, but I played it cool, slipping in quietly to avoid Derek's radar. Morning came too soon, alarm blaring as I prepped for another shift. But my mind was already mapping next moves. Dates, docs, discrepancies. Rita caught my eye at the bank, her nod saying she knew I was onto something. Hang tough, she whispered during a lull. I nodded back, focus sharpening. Escalation kicked off that evening. Derek ambled into the kitchen as I grabbed a yogurt, his casual lean against the counter anything but. You were out late yesterday, Quinn. Everything okay? Probe 1, his eyes searching mine like he sensed the shift. I kept my face neutral, spoon mid-stir. Just errands. He chuckled, but it rang hollow. Come on, sis, you've been jumpy. Work stress? Or something else? The gaslight flickered, making me second-guess for a split second. Was I overreacting? But Sam's words anchored me. Build quiet. Nah, all good. He lingered a beat too long, then shrugged. If you say so. Just looking out. Yeah, right. The loop tightened over the next few days. Derek dropped by more, his questions veering from casual to pointed. Heard you talking to Rita, bank stuff? He'd ask over dinner, fork paused. Mom glanced up, worried. Lana smirked into her salad. Client privacy, I deflected. But inside, paranoia spiked. Was he tailing my calls? One night, he cornered me in the hall post-shift. Quinn, you're acting off. If it's about Dad, let me handle it. You're not equipped. Sting landed, echoing childhood digs. Let Derek do it. He's the smart one. Anger flared, but I swallowed it. Appreciate the concern. He backed off, but his eyes said he wasn't done probing. Amid the tension, a subplot win boosted me. Digging deeper into those screenshots during lunch, I spotted a pattern in the LLC names, DH Holdings, Lana Assets, ego all over it. Called Mike again, meeting at the park to avoid eyes. Hypothetical still? He teased, handing over a printout from county records. These appraisals? Bogus. Values jacked up 20% over market, no inspections filed. Gold, one project tied to a vacant lot Derek claimed as flipped, but satellite pics showed weeds. Small win, Mike said, clapping my shoulder. But watch your back, real estate sharks bite. Confidence surged. This was ammunition, proof stacking like bricks. Derek's probes ramped as my determination did. He accidentally left his laptop open one afternoon, a spreadsheet flashing before he snapped it shut. Snooping, sis? Accusation hung, but I played dumb. Just passing through. Later, over tacos, he leaned in. You've been quiet, plotting something? Lana's eyes darted. Mom fidgeted. Paranoid much? I shot back lightly, but inside, the loop escalated. His awareness meant I had to move faster, quieter. The cliffhanger dropped that Friday. Phone alert mid-shift. Another transfer, $4,500 from Dad's savings to a new shell. CR Investments. Dated yesterday, right after Derek's quick visit while I was at work. Heart racing. I screenshot it in the bathroom, mind whirling. What else was he hiding? This wasn't stopping, it was accelerating. Time to tighten the net. That $4,500 transfer to CR Investments lit a fire under me, like a warning shot I couldn't ignore. I locked my phone and slipped back to the teller line, but my mind was racing, piecing together the next steps. Sam's legal blueprint was clear. Build the case quietly. Stack evidence like a house of cards ready to topple. But Derek's probing had me on edge. He was sniffing too close, and I needed to move fast without tipping him off. Back home, I kept my head down, dodging his sidelong glances over dinner, my hands itching to dig deeper. I started with spreadsheets, holed up in my room after midnight with a cheap desk lamp casting harsh shadows. Using Dad's account logins, I mapped every transfer to Hargrove Properties and its shell cousins, DH Holdings, Lana Assets, now CR Investments. Columns filled with dates, amounts, and memo lines. Consulting, project advance, materials. Over 6 months, $47,000 siphoned off, each tied to Derek's visits like clockwork. I cross-checked with county business registries on my laptop, tracing the shells to a P.O. box in Indiana. Shady, but not enough for a slam dunk. I saved every file to a thumb drive, tucked it in a sock drawer under my old high school yearbooks. Safe, for now. Recording was trickier, but Illinois being one-party consent gave me an edge. I started carrying my phone everywhere, voice memo app at the ready. One evening, Lana was in the living room, sipping wine with a friend while I did dishes nearby. Earbuds in, but not playing. "Derek's got it all lined up," she bragged, voice loose from the Chardonnay. "Once the estate's settled, we're flipping this place for a killing. New condo in the city, lake views." Her friend laughed. "What about Quinn?" Lana snorted. "She'll figure it out. Not our problem." My pulse spiked, but I kept scrubbing, capturing every word. Later, I caught Derek on the phone in the basement stairwell, my phone hidden in my sleeve. "Yeah, Pop's out of it most evenings. Just needs a nudge to sign. Easy." His laugh was cold, like he was closing a deal on a foreclosed home. I saved the clips, labeled them by date, my hands steady despite the rage bubbling inside. Staying silent was the hardest part, especially as Derek pushed the conservatorship angle. Over Sunday pot roast, he slid papers toward Mom, his tone all concern. "This makes me Dad's financial guardian, Mom. For his safety, those memory lapses are getting worse." Mom hesitated, her fork hovering, eyes darting to me. I wanted to scream, spill everything, but Sam's warning rang. "Don't spook the target." I bit my lip, tasting blood, and nodded faintly when Mom looked my way, signaling trust me. "Maybe sleep on it," I said softly, earning a sharp glance from Derek. "What's that, sis? Got an opinion?" His tone dripped with challenge, isolating me in front of Mom. "Just, big decisions need time," I mumbled, heart pounding. He leaned back, smirking. "Sure, Quinn. Stick to counting cash." Mom signed nothing, but the tension clung like damp air, and I felt Mom slipping further under his spell, his words painting me as the meddler. Derek's psychological warfare ramped up, cutting me off from Mom. He'd suggest she rest when I tried talking alone, steering her to bed early or out for errands with Lana. "Give her space, Quinn. She's stressed," he'd say, his hand on Mom's shoulder like a claim. One night, I caught Mom alone in the kitchen, her eyes tired. "Is Derek right? Am I making this harder?" she whispered. My heart twisted. He was turning her against me. "You're not, Mom. We're okay." I squeezed her hand, but doubt lingered in her gaze, and I knew I was losing ground. Mrs. Ellis, the neighbor with the yappy terrier, became my unexpected ally. I ran into her while grabbing the mail, her eyes sharp as she handed me a zucchini bread. "Your brother's over a lot, huh? Always with that briefcase." I froze, then nodded. "Yeah, helping Dad." She raised a brow. "Helping himself, maybe? I keep a log, old habit from my HOA days. His visits line up with your dad looking off after." She slipped me a notebook page. Dates. Times. Derek's SUV pulling in. My jaw tightened. Every entry matched a transfer or a foggy dad day. "Thanks, Mrs. E. This means a lot." She patted my arm. "Family's worth fighting for." The red herring tripped me up midweek. Sorting through Dad's desk for more clues, I found a bank letter, legit looking, thanking him for updating beneficiaries. My heart sank. Had Dad willingly changed things? Was I chasing ghosts? I almost called Sam, ready to back off, but Mike's text stopped me. Check that letter's date against transfers. Sure enough, it was a decoy, sent the same day as a $3,000 withdrawal. Derek's cover, not Dad's choice. Relief hit, but so did urgency. He was playing chess, and I was still learning the board. Mike came through again over coffee at the diner, his county access pulling more discrepancies. Another shell popped up, Hargrove Ventures, tied to a strip mall that doesn't exist. He slid me a printout, his grin conspiratorial. You're building a hell of a case, Quinn. I pocketed it, adrenaline spiking. This was real, and I was closing in. But as I left, my phone pinged. Another transfer, $6,000, labeled urgent repairs. Dated yesterday, after Derek's late visit. My blood ran cold. He wasn't slowing down. The net was tightening, but so was his grip. That $6,000 transfer notification burned a hole in my pocket, each ping from my phone like a countdown clock ticking louder. Derek was moving faster, and I was running out of time to stay one step ahead. The house felt like a chessboard, every move calculated, every glance from him loaded with suspicion. But I had Mrs. Ellis's logs, Mike's discrepancies, and a growing stack of recordings. Enough to feel the trap tightening, but not enough to spring it. I needed more, and I needed Dad's clarity to pull it off. One crisp Saturday morning, Dad was having a good day. Rare, like sunlight breaking through February clouds. I found him in the kitchen, pouring coffee with a steadier hand than usual, humming an old Springsteen tune. The moment felt like a gift, a chance to talk before Derek swooped in. I slid into the chair across from him, heart thumping. Dad, we need to talk. About Derek. His eyes met mine, sharp and focused, none of that evening fog. Been waiting for you to say it, Quinny. My breath caught. He knew? What's he pulling? I whispered, glancing at the door. Dad leaned in, voice low. He thinks I'm out to lunch, but I've got a friend watching. Old pal from the factory, Joe Carver. He's got my real will, the one Ellis filed before Derek pushed him out. A plot reversal hit like a thunderclap. Dad wasn't just a victim. He'd been playing defense. Joe's got copies, sealed tight. Derek's chasing a decoy. That revelation lit a fire, deepening our bond as we shared memories over coffee. Remember when you built that treehouse, Dad? I said, voice soft. Told me it was our fort, no matter who tried to take it. He chuckled, eyes crinkling. Still is, kiddo. This house, your mom, it's ours to protect. Those words anchored me, pulling up summers when Derek hogged the spotlight, but Dad always saved a quiet moment for me. The emotional weight settled in, stealing my resolve to fight for what was ours. I doubled down on evidence, using Dad's clear days to strategize. During his morning appointments, I requested medical summaries as his proxy, careful to keep it discreet. The neurologist's notes were gold. Patient shows variable cognition, worse in evenings. Recommend oversight for decisions. I photocopied them, tucking copies in my safe deposit box at the bank. Each visit with Dad, we'd sit in the den, him flipping through old photo albums while I jotted notes, dates of Derek's visits, his sundowning episodes, correlating with those shady transfers. You're sharp like your mom, Dad said once, patting my hand. Don't let him outsmart you. The pressure to stay silent was crushing, though. Every dinner, Derek pushed harder for conservatorship, his voice syrupy as he slid forms to Mom. It's for Dad's safety, Carol. Quinn agrees, right? His eyes dared me to crack. I forced a nod, jaw tight, the effort like swallowing glass. The subplot close call came midweek, nearly derailing everything. I was in my room, transferring recordings to my laptop, when Derek knocked. Unusual, sharp raps. Quinn, we need to talk. My heart stopped. The thumb drive was still plugged in. I slammed the laptop shut, shoving it under a pillow as he pushed the door open. "You've been quiet? Something up?" His tone was casual, but his eyes scanned the room like a hawk. "Just tired," I lied, standing to block his view. He stepped closer, glancing at my desk. "Keeping secrets, sis? Found some old bank stuff in Dad's files. Thought you'd want to look." He dangled a folder, the red herring, a legit-looking mortgage statement. My pulse raced. Was this a test? "Thanks, I'll check it later." He smirked, dropping it and leaving. I exhaled, checking the file later. Clean, but dated to cover a transfer day. Another decoy. Mrs. Ellis's logs were the breakthrough. I stopped by her place with a coffee as thanks, and she handed me an updated list. 2 months of Derek's visits, timed to the minute. "He's like clockwork, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5 p.m., she said, her terrier yapping at her feet. I cross-referenced. Every visit aligned with a withdrawal or a sundowning spell. One entry jumped out. Last Tuesday, Derek stayed late, and Dad was pacing, confused after. That same night, $5,000 hit CR Investments. The pattern was undeniable. A neon sign screaming intent. I hugged Mrs. Ellis, promising her zucchini bread recipe a permanent spot in our kitchen. But as I left her porch, my phone buzzed. A new alert. Another transfer. $7,000. Labeled consulting fees. My stomach dropped. Derek wasn't just bold. He was reckless. Accelerating like he knew the clock was ticking. That $7,000 transfer alert hit like a gut punch. Proof Derek was doubling down, blind to the noose tightening. I tucked my phone away. Mrs. Ellis's logs burning a hole in my jacket pocket as I hurried home under a gray October sky. Dad's revelation about Joe Carver and the real Will had flipped the game. Derek was chasing a ghost, but I needed ironclad evidence to spring the trap. The house was quiet when I slipped in, Derek's SUV gone, giving me a rare window to move fast. First, the legal documents. I booked a hospital visit for Dad's next checkup, timing it for a morning when his mind was sharpest. Sam Reed had been clear. Lock in a new power of attorney and codicil. Witness tight to stand up in court. At the hospital, the social worker, Ms. Patel, a calm woman with kind eyes and a clipboard, joined us in a sterile conference room. "This is to protect your wishes, Mr. Hargrove," she explained as Dad signed the power of attorney naming me. 2 doctors watched, one jotting notes, the other recording on a hospital tablet for proof of lucidity. "I trust Quinn," Dad said, voice steady, eyes locked on mine. The codicil came next, amending his will to reinforce the Hargrove trust. Mom's lifetime rights to the house, me as co-trustee with the bank. Derek explicitly cut out for conflicts of interest. Ms. Patel nodded approvingly. "This is solid. I've seen too many families torn apart without this." Her words added depth, a reminder of the stakes beyond our walls. I paid Sam's firm to file copies, my teller savings taking a hit but worth every cent. The Hargrove Trust was the fortress. Sam drafted it to shield the house and Dad's IRAs, locking them from Derek's reach. "No sell, no mortgage without dual approval," she'd said over coffee, her office cluttered with law books and a faint burnt bean smell. I memorized the terms, picturing Derek's face when he'd hit that wall. The trust was filed quietly, a sealed addendum with the codicil as backup. Sam called it a legal landmine. Dad's video statement, recorded that same morning, was the detonator. "My son's greed ends here. Quinn and Carol, they're my legacy." His clarity was a gift, and I burned it to a USB, stashed in my safe deposit box. Meeting ADA Lisa Torres was the next step. Her office in the county courthouse smelled of stale donuts and justice. I laid out the evidence, spreadsheets, recordings, Mrs. Ellis's logs, medical notes. Torres, sharp in a navy blazer, flipped through my folder, her expression unreadable. "You've got a case for elder abuse, maybe fraud," she said, tapping a pen. "But criminal charges need a confession or hard proof of intent." I nodded, heart racing. What if he incriminates himself? She leaned forward. That's your golden ticket. Keep recording, but stay safe. He's cornered, and cornered dogs bite. Her warning echoed Rita's. Blood don't mean loyalty. Derek's pressure escalated in loops, each tighter than the last. He pushed Mom harder for conservatorship, cornering her one night in the dining room with a stack of forms. It's for Dad's protection, Carol. You don't want him signing bad deals, right? His eyes flicked to me, daring a challenge. I stayed silent, hands clenched under the table. But Mom hesitated. Progress. Another loop. He misplaced Dad's checkbook, claiming it was for safekeeping, then grilled me the next day. You seen Dad's financial stuff, Quinn? You're at the bank all the time. His tone was casual, but the probe was sharp. Haven't touched it, I lied, pulse hammering. Lana chimed in at dinner. Maybe Quinn's stressed. Work's tough, huh? Gaslighting, trying to paint me as the unstable one. I smiled thinly, biting back the truth. The recordings kept piling. One night, I caught Lana on the patio, phone to ear, oblivious to my cracked window above. Derek's got the deed locked. We're set after the old man goes, she bragged, voice smug. I hit record, capturing her laugh. Another clip. Derek in the basement, muttering to his lawyer buddy. Pop's too out of it to notice. Signatures are cake. Illinois' one-party consent was my shield, and each file strengthened the trap. A fake cliffhanger hit when Derek handed Mom a corrected bank form, claiming it fixed an error. All good now, he said, smiling wide. For a moment, I thought I'd missed something. Had he backed off? I checked the account that night. No change. Just another $3,000 siphoned to a new shell. MJ Ventures. Relief mixed with fury. He was still playing, thinking he'd outsmarted us. But as I saved the latest screenshot, a text from Mike popped up. Found another ghost property. Call me. The net was closing, but Derek's next move loomed like a shadow. Mike's text about another ghost property lingered like a storm cloud, but it was Dad's final breath that hit like lightning. 2 days after I locked in the Hargrove Trust and got Torres's green light, Dad slipped away quietly in his sleep. I was at his bedside in the hospital, holding his hand, the monitor's steady beeps slowing until they flatlined. His last words, raspy but clear, cut deep. Keep the family whole, Quinny. You're stronger than you know. I nodded, tears blurring my vision, promising justice as the nurse unhooked the machines. Mom sat frozen, clutching her rosary, while I whispered, I've got this, Dad. The weight of his words settled like a mantle. Our fort. Our legacy. Now mine to defend. The house turned into a pressure cooker overnight, grief and greed boiling together. The funeral was a blur. Neighbors filling the pews, Mrs. Ellis pressing a casserole into my hands, her eyes soft with pity. Derek played the grieving son, shaking hands in a tailored suit, but his eulogy rang hollow, all platitudes about Dad's legacy, while Lana dabbed dry eyes. Back home, the air was thick, every creak of the floorboards amplifying the tension. Mom retreated to her room, lost in old photo albums, her sobs muffled through the walls. I wanted to sit with her, share the grief, but Derek's shadow loomed, his moves bolder now that Dad was gone. At the wake, Derek made his first announcement, standing in the living room like a king addressing his court. Folks, I'm stepping up, he said, voice steady as he held a glass of bourbon. Dad's affairs need sorting. House, accounts, all of it. I'll handle it. Lana nodded, her arm looped through his, bold as brass. We're keeping things stable for Carol, she added, her smile sharp, like she was staking a claim. Mom murmured agreement, too raw to argue, but I saw her fingers twist her wedding ring, a nervous tick. I stayed silent, my phone in my pocket, recording every word, my jaw tight as I catalogued their confidence. Too cocky, too soon. The harassment started small, but stung. Derek changed the locks the next day, claiming security after Dad's passing. "Can't be too careful," he said, tossing me a new key like it was a favor. The Wi-Fi password flipped again, locking me out unless I asked Lana, who'd sigh like I was begging for scraps. "You're still here, Quinn?" she'd say, her tone dripping with fake surprise. "Thought you'd want your own place by now." Psychological warfare dialed up. Derek's mind games were relentless. At dinner, he'd lean in, voice low. "Mom's fragile, sis. Don't stress her with your theories." The word landed like a jab, implying I was the problem, not his shell companies. Mom's eyes darted between us, unsure, and I felt the wedge deepen, her grief making her vulnerable to his spin. Work became a minefield, the subplot of my crumbling focus adding stress. Rita noticed me fumbling a deposit count, my third mistake that week. "Quinn, you're off your game," she said in the break room, her voice gentle but firm. "This about your dad?" I nodded, not trusting my voice, the weight of grief and secrecy crushing me. "Take a personal day," she urged, but I couldn't. Every shift was a chance to check Dad's accounts for more leaks. Another $2,000 transfer hit that afternoon, labeled estate fees, and I screenshot it, my hands shaking. Derek was moving money faster, like he sensed the walls closing in. Grief pulled Mom and me closer, though, in stolen moments. One night, I found her in the den, staring at Dad's old recliner, a tissue crumpled in her hand. "He loved you best, you know," she whispered, voice cracking. "Said you had his fight." I knelt beside her, tears spilling. "We'll keep his fort, Mom, together." She squeezed my hand, a flicker of strength breaking through her sorrow. Those moments fueled me, anchoring my promise to Dad amid the chaos. I documented every harassment, my phone a silent weapon. Changed locks? Noted with timestamps. Lana's barbed comments? Recorded when she thought I was out of earshot, bragging to a friend about securing the house. Derek's late-night basement calls? Caught fragments through the vent. Once Mom signs, it's ours. Each file went to my thumb drive, now hidden in a locked bank drawer. But the pressure cooker was heating up. Derek's next announcement loomed, and I knew it'd be bigger, bolder, pushing us closer to the edge. Derek's looming announcement hung over the house like a storm cloud after Dad's funeral. And the next 2 weeks turned our home into a battlefield of petty cruelties. The escalation loop kicked off fast. He changed the locks again, this time without giving me a key. "Lost the spare," he said with a shrug, forcing me to knock like a guest to get in after my bank shifts. By day 3, the utilities flickered, internet cut, then the heat dialed down to Arctic levels. "Budget cuts," Lana explained, wrapped in a cashmere sweater while I shivered in my hoodie. Mom's eyes darted nervously, but she stayed silent, still raw from grief. I adapted, buying a prepaid hotspot and stashing an electric blanket, my jaw set. Derek's game was clear. Make me so miserable I'd bolt. The harassment escalated. One night, I came home to my room ransacked, drawers yanked open, books scattered, my old yearbooks dumped on the floor. "Looking for a leak," Derek said casually, leaning in my doorway like he owned it. "You'd tell me if you saw something off, right, sis?" His smile was a blade, and I forced a nod, heart pounding as I checked my sock drawer. Thumb drive still there, thank God. I started carrying it everywhere, tucked in my bra, and moved digital backups to a cloud folder with triple passwords. No way was he getting my evidence. Cracks in Derek and Lana's alliance started showing, though, like hairline fractures in a dam. At dinner, Lana snapped at him for leaving dishes out, her voice sharp. "If I'm managing the house, you handle your mess." Derek's eyes flashed, but he swallowed a retort, glancing at Mom like she was an audience. Later, I caught them arguing in hushed tones in the basement. Lana hissing about overplaying our hand. My phone, hidden in my sleeve, snagged it. "You're pushing too hard, Derek. Carol's not signing if Quinn's still here." His growl back. "She'll crack or leave. Trust me." The tension between them was a chink in their armor, and I filed it away, my resolve hardening. Mom's shift started subtly, a flicker of the woman who'd raised us. One evening, I found her in the kitchen, staring at Dad's chipped coffee mug, tears streaking her face. "He'd hate this," she whispered, gripping my hand. "Derek's not right." I squeezed back, heart swelling. She was waking up. "We're fixing it, Mom. Together." Her nod was small, but firm, a spark of alliance forming. I didn't spill the plan, not yet, but her doubt in Derek was the plot reversal I needed, turning her from bystander to quiet ally. Derek's red herring came midweek, a false peace offering that nearly threw me. He knocked on my door, holding a coffee and a smile too wide. "Look, Quinn, let's hit reset. I'll cover utilities for a month. Ease the tension." His tone was all big brother warmth, but his eyes didn't match. "Appreciate it," I said, wary, taking the coffee I'd never drink. Later, I checked the accounts. Another $4,000 transfer to MJ Ventures, labeled Utility Advance. Classic Derek. Dangle kindness to cover theft. I screenshot it, cursing myself for almost buying the act. Work stress bled into the chaos. My focus shot. Rita caught me zoning out during a cash count. Her brow furrowed. "Quinn, you're running on fumes. Whatever's going on, pace yourself." I nodded, but the pressure was relentless. Every day off was a day Derek gained ground. I kept recording, catching Lana's callous quip on the porch. "Quinn's a problem, but she'll leave when the house sells." My blood boiled, but I stayed silent, saving the clip. The final escalation hit on day 12. Derek slid a post-nup across the kitchen table to Mom, his voice smooth as silk. "This just protects your assets, Carol. Keeps the house in the family." It was a lie, tying her inheritance to Hargrove Properties. Mom's hand hovered over the pen, her eyes flicking to me. I shook my head slightly, heart in my throat. "I need time," she said, voice trembling but firm. Derek's jaw tightened, and Lana's smile froze. Mom's awakening was real. She wasn't signing. I slipped upstairs, pulse racing, knowing the war was far from over, but the tide was turning. Mom's refusal to sign Derek's post-nup was a spark in the dark, a signal she was finally seeing through his game. The house stayed tense, like a coiled spring, but her quiet nod to me that night said we were in this together. I clutched my thumb drive of evidence tighter, knowing the will reading was days away, a showdown I'd been building toward since spotting that quitclaim deed. Derek's moves were getting sloppier, his confidence a crack I could exploit, but I had to stay sharp to spring the trap. The law office of Reed & Associates was a sterile box downtown, all glass walls and coffee breath, the kind of place that screamed expensive billable hours. Sam Reed, crisp in her navy suit, greeted us at the conference table, her paralegal verifying IDs with a clipboard. Mom sat beside me, her hands twisting a tissue, while Derek and Lana took the power seats at the table's head, him in a tailored blazer, her with pearl earrings glinting like armor. Joe Carver, Dad's old factory buddy, was there too, his weathered face unreadable but his presence a lifeline, Dad's hidden ally. A court reporter typed silently, and a deputy lingered by the door, standard for high-stakes readings. I kept my phone in my lap, recording, my pulse steady but loud in my ears. Sam started with the formalities, her voice calm as she read Dad's will, dated years before his stroke. Assets to Carol Hargrove, primary residence to remain in her name, with Quinn as co-executor. Derek leaned back, smirking, like he'd already won. I held my breath, waiting for the cliffhanger fake to hit. Sam paused, adjusting her glasses. "There's an amendment, however. A codicil." Derek's smile froze, and Lana's hand gripped his arm. My heart skipped. Doubt crept in. Had I missed something? Was the codicil airtight? Sam slid a sealed envelope from the folder, breaking the wax. This was filed separately, verified by notary. My stomach nodded. This was it. The codicil was Dad's voice from beyond, clear and cutting. Due to conflicts of interest, Derek Hargrove is excluded from the Hargrove Trust, which secures the home and accounts for Carolyn Quinn. All prior transfers, including quitclaim deeds, are voided pending review for undue influence. Sam's tone was even, but the words landed like a grenade. Derek's face went red, veins bulging. "What the hell is this?" he roared, slamming the table. Lana hissed, "This can't be legal!" I sat still, my smile creeping up, the same one from months ago when I first saw the trap forming. Derek caught it, his eyes wild. "You did this, Quinn!" he spat, launching into psychological warfare. "You manipulated Dad, didn't you? Twisted his sick mind!" The accusation stung, but I stayed silent, letting his rage bury him. Then the plot reversal hit. Joe Carver stood, pulling a USB from his pocket. "Harlan recorded this himself, 2 years back, when he was sharp as a tack. Said Derek might try something." He handed it to Sam, who played it on her laptop. Dad's face filled the screen, steady and stern. "If Derek's contesting, he's lying. Joe's got the original will, safe from his schemes." The room went dead quiet. Derek's crony, his lawyer buddy, sitting in the corner, paling as the betrayal sank in. Joe's glare confirmed it. He'd been Dad's ace, not Derek's. Derek snapped. He lunged across the table, his fist connecting with my jaw before I could flinch. Pain exploded, hot and sharp, blood pooling in my mouth. Mom screamed, and the deputy moved fast, pinning Derek's arms as he thrashed, cursing. "You set me up, you little—" The court reporter kept typing, unfazed, as cuffs clicked on Derek's wrists. Lana shrank back, her face a mask of shock, no longer the queen of the castle. The deputy hauled Derek out, his shouts echoing down the hall. Mom stood, trembling but fierce, her grief turning to fire. "How could you, Derek?" she said, voice breaking but strong. "Your father trusted you." Derek's head dropped, no comeback left as the door slammed behind him. Sam handed me a tissue for my lip, then an envelope. Dad's handwriting on it, addressed to me. I opened it, my hands shaking, and read his words. "Quinny, you're the heart of this family. Keep it whole." Tears blurred the ink, but the weight lifted. Justice was here, raw and real. As Sam wrapped up, confirming the trust's activation, I touched my swelling jaw, the pain a badge of what I'd fought for. Derek's arrest was just the start. The evidence I'd stacked was headed to Torres next. But something told me this wasn't the end of his fight. Derek's arrest left a bruise on my jaw and a quiet victory in my chest. But the war wasn't over. As the deputy dragged him out of Sam's office, his curses fading down the hall, I clutched Dad's letter. Its words, "You're the heart of this family," anchoring me. Mom's trembling hand found mine, her eyes fierce despite the tears. The evidence I'd piled up was now with Ada Torres, and the gears of justice were grinding. But I knew Derek wouldn't go down without a fight. The house, our fort, was still at stake, and I wasn't letting go. The financial implosion hit fast. By Monday, Torres's team froze Hargrove Properties accounts, along with DH Holdings, Lana Assets, and the rest of Derek's shell game. Bank notices piled up on my phone. $47,000 clawed back from CR Investments and MJ Ventures, flagged for fraud. Derek and Lana were hit with charges: elder abuse, forgery, and wire fraud. Torres called me that afternoon, her voice clipped but satisfied. "Your recording sealed it, Quinn. They're out on bail, but we've got them dead to rights." Lana's condo dreams were dust, and Derek's tailored suits wouldn't help him in court. I exhaled, the weight of months lifting. But the fallout was just beginning. Reclaiming the house felt like taking back stolen ground. Mom and I started small, swapping Lana's tacky farmhouse signs for Dad's old fishing photos. One rainy afternoon, we tackled the basement, Derek's former command center. Mom hesitated at the door, her hands twisting her wedding ring. "Feels wrong, digging through his stuff," she said. I squeezed her shoulder. "It's ours, Mom, Dad's fort." We sifted through his desk, finding more than junk. A hidden box under a loose floorboard stuffed with Dad's handwritten letters to us, dated years back. "To Carol, my anchor," one read. "To Quinn, my fighter." Mom sobbed, clutching them, and I joined her, the grief raw but healing. Those treasures, Dad's words, were worth more than any deed. The subplot of work tied up quieter. Rita caught me at the bank, my focus finally steady. "Heard about the arrests?" she said, handing me a coffee. "You did good, kid." I smiled, my first real one in weeks. "Couldn't have started without you." She waved it off, but her pride was clear. Mike texted too, his county records now part of Torres's case. "Drinks on me when this blows over," he wrote. I owed them both, their support threads weaving into my strength. The legal updates closed the escalation loop. Sam called with news. The Hargrove Trust held firm, the house secured for Mom's lifetime, my co-trustee role ironclad. Derek's quitclaim deed was voided, ruled as undue influence thanks to Dad's video and Joe Carver's testimony. Torres warned trials loomed. Derek was fighting the charges, claiming he was protecting the family. But with bank records, recordings, and Mrs. Ellis's logs, his defense was a house of cards in a windstorm. I saved every update, ready for the long haul. But the house was ours again, a victory worth celebrating. That night, Mom and I sat in the den, Dad's recliner between us, a bottle of his favorite Merlot open. We raised glasses, the clink soft but resolute. "To Harlan," Mom said, voice steady for the first time in months. "And to us, keeping his fort." I nodded, tears pricking. "To family, the real kind." We sipped, the wine warm, the silence full of Dad's presence. The Hargrove women were battered but unbroken, our strength forged in the fight. Mom reached for my hand, her grip fierce. "You're your father's daughter, Quinn. Never forget it." The trials would come, and Derek might claw back, but we'd won the heart of this battle. If this moved you, hit like, drop your thoughts below, share this with a friend, and subscribe for the next episode. There's more to tell, and you won't want to miss it.